infiltrating the trouble. Sorry, I got something back in. Okay. We are live on YouTube. Yeah. Now we're live. Okay. All right. The time going now. All right, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Uh-oh. She's up again. All right, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday. Oh, I'm going to take these on my ear. I do have them all. I was listening to music. I had to put them off. Sorry. All right, y'all. You can't see it on YouTube, Auntie. We live on YouTube. I had to clear some of the stuff it was saying I needed to free up some storage. So I cleared it, but it's live over there now. But either or, we live on both places. Josiah, shalom. Okay, y'all. Let me pull this up real quick. Okay, cool. It's working. Anybody have a chance to watch Watershed Down? I know I just told y'all about it yesterday. I was just curious. Anybody had a chance to watch it yet? I know my baby sister finally watched it yesterday. 8. Okay, let's check this. Okay. Peaceful greetings, Uncle Nathaniel. Okay, y'all. I got this together now. So I'm going to pull up the Shema. Mom, shalom. Hold on, y'all. Thank you. Give me 1 second. This is gonna freeze on this is gonna freeze y'all on Facebook. Give me 1 moment. Hold on. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Alright, y'all. We're back on Facebook. Sorry, I had to send that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the Shema. The Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. And we're starting at verse 3. Remember, read the entire chapter for full context. I believe we kept everything within context as we do the Shema, but you can read other blessings in there if you go read the whole chapter. All right. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Attention, everybody, listen up. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God as he has commanded us. All right, y'all. About the garden, let me share something, y'all. Okay, so so I was looking yesterday. So although we have like our cherry tomatoes are the first fruits of our bigger harvest that is to come in a few weeks, it's when you actually get into gardening, it helps make the word of Yah a little more lively, right? And it helps us to get more involved, and we actually see principles working because we're actually working principles of the earth, right? So one of the feasts that we are to keep is the Feast of First Fruits. And I know when the church teaches this, they tell you that JC is the first resurrection of the bigger harvest to come, right? I get what they're trying to explain, but that's not what Yahuwah said, right? The ones who are waking up, right? And I guess they try and parallel everything, right? Us, we are considered the first fruits of the bigger harvest. Like us waking up, returning to Yahuwah and Yahuwah alone, we're the ones who have risen from the dead, right? Called up from our graves, like the book of Ezekiel talks about, the valley of dry bones. That's us, right? So, but what it tells us, one of the feasts, so say if yesterday I had some corn that had ripened, because it tells us in Leviticus chapter 23, it's the third feast, it tells you about Passover, unleavened bread, then it goes into first fruits. Right after first fruits is Shavuot, or what the church calls Pentecost, right? But that's the bigger harvest. That's like the summer harvest, right? But how you calculate that is you can't necessarily give a date. Like some people once I understood this, I'm like, you can't give a date for first fruits. Like people have first fruit dates. If you're not gardening, at least from my understanding up until today, because we actually been gardening. This is our third year now gardening, right? We ain't got the big lavish. We still beginners. We ain't got our green thumbs yet. I done killed more plants than I really want to tell you. But I'm glad that we can just plant them back into the dirt and they'll continue to give life, right? We can just recycle the plants, look, or put them in my compost. So Yahuwah tells us in Leviticus 23 that the first fruits of our barley harvest, right? Now, I'm not growing barley. Not barley. It says grain, but barley is a grain. But also, if you're growing corn is a grain. So we decided to grow corn, right? So last year, like, we didn't have any luck with it the last couple years. Trying it again this year, well, actually, we did, but you'll find out real quick what you're doing wrong. But I'm so grateful that plants are forgiving, so to speak, and hopefully you still got seed where you can try it again, right? So it was growing up good. Like the first year, we ran into critters pulling up our crops. Like, it's like I've never seen as many squirrels as I have in my whole life while we're living here until I planted a garden. Never seen a rabbit till we planted a garden, right? I was watching somebody's video on how to get rid of critters. They said, you know what? I don't know. The animals are on a nature frequency, and anytime you plant anything in the ground, they will find it, even if you've never seen them before. And I found that to be true. I'm like, I've never seen a rabbit around here, but they are abundant, right? So the first year, the squirrels digging up my stuff, and y'all probably seen me up there, well, on Facebook anyway, talking about I need to get a BB gun. I'm sick of these squirrels pulling up my plants and stuff. But so the first couple years while you're getting into the habit, at least in our experience, you're learning how to walk this walk, right? You're learning not to overwater, not to underwater, how to protect, how to guard. And it's amazing if you're gardening while you're reading the Torah, right? Because Yahuwah begins to speak to you about your life and how you are to guarding your life and watch for these things and watch out for the seed that's been planted and make sure it's not uprooted before it's time, right? Before it has time to flourish. So you have to watch out for squirrels and rabbits and plant pests and slugs and just different things, right? You have to always be on guard. You have to take preventative measures to protect your seed, right? You get a whole nother revelation of Torah and some of the simple things Yahuwah speaks to us when you begin to garden, right? Okay, so I said all that because it tells us in Leviticus 23, this is how you calculate the Shavuot or the Pentecost date. You can't calculate that until you calculate first fruits. And you cannot pre-calculate first fruits like the exact date. You can give a general date, not like TBN until you actually harvest your first fruits. Like if it had been corn yesterday, then May 24th would have been, well, it is my first fruits date, but it's not necessarily grain, because tomato is a fruit, right? So with sticking with what scripture actually says, although I'm gonna calculate it with the first fruits of my tomatoes too. Like if my corn had ripened, I had a few ripe ears of corn, that would be my my grain harvest. And it tells us in Leviticus 23 that your first fruits you're to take to the priest, right? You take it to the priest, and the priest wave it before Yahuwah, right? They wave it, thank you, Father, for the first fruits of this harvest, right? Kind of like the prayer that I gave with my in my description box of my video and like on Facebook. Thank you for the first fruits of this harvest, right? It's us who plant the seeds and it's us who waters, right? But it's Yahuwah that causes the increase. He is the one that causes that seed to do what it does when it's planted in a right environment, right? And sometimes those of you who planted seeds, even if it has the right conditions, the right environment, sometimes it still doesn't grow, right? So that meant the seed was a dud. The seed was bad, right? And it doesn't grow. So all these things you begin to learn, and it just makes learning Torah and applying it to your life, it is that much more fulfilling, right? So this is why Yahuwah tells us, if you go through, he said, you are to keep to these feasts everywhere you live on the earth. Not just here while you're in the land, but no matter, if you go back and read it, it said no matter where you live or wherever you live on earth, you are to keep to these commands. Because we don't need cattle to keep to Yahuwah's commands, right? All we need, there's dirt everywhere we go. Now, you may have an issue with getting seeds, but even if you can't go purchase seeds, I'm sure you eat stuff at some time that has the seed. Even if you have to go to the store and purchase produce and learn how to harvest the seeds out of the lettuce and the tomatoes and stuff, there's a way to do that. We do that with some stuff, like with the tomatoes, kale seeds and stuff like that. Learn how to get your own seed from the produce and fruits and veggies that you get from the store if there's nowhere for you to go purchase seed, right? So there's different ways to do this, and there's a never-ending supply. Once you learn how to do that, you will always have a harvest, an abundance of seeds that you can sow, because each fruit reproduces multiple vegetable and fruit. It has its seed within itself, and it doesn't just, well, some give you one, but some of the other things, they give you a bunch, right? And you could start 1 year, and that 1 year that you purchase fresh produce, that could last you forever. You would never, if you're doing it right and don't kill your seed, you'll be able to do it forever just from one purchase from the store, if you learn how to save your seeds and plant them in the right environments and watch it grow, right? So, but another thing I also noticed, what it's talking about the sacrifices yesterday, I know I mentioned a couple times. If you go through Leviticus 23 and you remove, where you look at the couple places where it says, also add to your grain offering or, your harvest offering, sacrifices. That stuff, at least from my understanding in those chapters, those sacrifices for them feast days have been added. Now, don't quote me on that, but I'm almost 100% sure of that even today as I looked over it again, because you can pull those out and read it without the blood sacrifices of the animals, and it makes perfect sense, right? Because everything that Yahuwah says, and he goes back and he reiterates what he says about the grain offering and the produce of the field that grows from the ground, right? Which is why we are able to keep his feast wherever we live on the earth, even in captivity, where they stripped us of all our wealth, including the livestock and the animals. Even if they took everything from us, we would still be able to hold to these feasts without animals, because we don't need the animals, right? The slaughterings in there, like I said, don't quote me, but I'm almost 100% sure as of today, as I've been looking over it again this morning, it makes perfect sense. But like I said, I'm still working on that, y'all. I would like to put together like a full reference with everything and pulling everything together so you can see, like, Yahuwah never required a blood sacrifice, right? Because with him being all knowing, wouldn't he have known the end from the beginning, knowing that there would be many, many years where his people would be stripped of everything, even the animals that they had, their wealth? So how would they be able to keep to this if you knew that they would be stripped from the thing that it said we were supposed to do? You was much smarter than that, right? Okay, so I just wanted to bring that out. So just in case you're planting a garden, when you harvest your first grain, which grain, rice is a grain. If you're growing rice, I don't know anybody up here that's growing rice. You need to have the right situations to grow rice, and rice really grows in like swampy areas, right? It thrives in those type of areas. Corn, also barley, wheat, if you're growing any of that type of stuff, watch for that. And if you are, begin to practice it. So once you harvest your first fruit of that, you can set that as your first fruit dates. Then you would, that next Sabbath, okay, so say if the Sabbath cycle falls on a Wednesday and you harvest your first fruits of your barley on that Monday, it says after you harvest your first fruits, he said, begin counting the day after the Sabbath. So you harvest it on that Monday, that first Sabbath. After that harvest would be that Wednesday. So Thursday you would begin your 50-day count, and that 50th day would be Shavuot or Pentecost, right? So that's how you get the date for that. Just in case you didn't know, I know that was a little bit long, but just in case you're still trying to figure it out, it took me a couple years to get that. I really didn't get it till I got a garden, right? So some things, when you actually do something, Yahuwah's Torah requires us to be responsible and do something. And in our process of doing, he gives us more information, and we learn, and we can see, in things that are cloudy become really clear for us. So I just want to share that. I know that was a long intro, so let's go ahead and get reading with Ezra. Y'all, so we're at Ezra chapter 6 today. All right. So King Darius issued orders that a search be made in the Babylonian archives. Good morning, son. You give me something? You going out to the job site?
Yeah,
Okay, did you verify what I sent to you yesterday? Leave it here. I might have to just go into no, keep it with you. You got your card, right? I'll just go into the bank and I have them check it. And I probably just
You said something about that.
yeah, the money that I sent you yesterday, you had to.
That's in the cash. I just need my passport so I can get my cash app forward.
Okay. All right, go ahead and get ready for work. I'll check into it. Okay, sorry, y'all. Let me just start over. Ezra chapter 6. So King Darius issued orders that a search be made in the Babylonian archives, which were stored in the treasury. But it was at the fortress at Ecbatana in the province of Media that a scroll was found. This is what it said. Memorandum. In the first year of King Cyrus's reign, a decree was sent out concerning the temple of Yahuwah at Jerusalem. Let the temple be rebuilt on the site where the Hebrews used to offer their sacrifices using the original foundations. Its height will be 90 feet and its width will be 90 feet. Every 3 layers of specially prepared stones will be topped by a layer of timber. All expenses will be paid by the royal treasury. Furthermore, the gold and silver cups, which were taken to Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar from the temple of Yahuwah in Jerusalem, must be returned to Jerusalem and put back where they belong. Let them be taken back to the temple of Yahuwah. So Darius sent this message. Now, therefore, Tatanai, governor of the province west of the Euphrates River, and Shethar Barzanai, and your colleagues and other officials west of the Euphrates River. Stay away from there. Do not disturb the construction of the temple of Yahuwah. Let it be rebuilt on its original site, and do not hinder the governor of Judah and the elders of the Hebrews in their work. Moreover, I hereby decree that you are to help these elders of the Hebrews as they rebuild the temple of Yahuwah. You must pay the full construction cost without delay from my taxes collected west of the Euphrates River so that the work will not be interrupted. Give the priests in Jerusalem whatever is needed in the way of young bulls, rams, and male lambs for the burnt offerings presented to the God of heaven. And without fail, provide them with as much wheat, salt, wine, and olive oil as they need each day. Then they will be able to offer acceptable sacrifices to the God of heaven and pray for the welfare of the king and his sons. Those who violate this decree in any way will have a beam pulled from their house. Then they will be lifted up and impaled on it, and their house will be reduced to a pile of rubble. May the God who has chosen the city of Jerusalem as the place to honor his name destroy any king or nation that violates this command and destroys this temple. I, Darius, have issued this decree. Let it be obeyed with all diligence. Tatanai, governor of the province west of the Euphrates River, and Shethar Barzanai and their colleagues complied at once with the command of King Darius. So the Hebrew elders continued their work, and they were greatly encouraged by the preaching of the prophets Haggai and Zechariah, son of Iddo. The temple was finally finished and had been commanded by Yahuwah, the God of Israel, and decreed by Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, the kings of Persia. The temple was completed on March the 12th during the 6th year of King Darius's reign. The temple of Yahuwah was then dedicated with great joy by the people of Israel, the priests, the Levites, and the rest of the people who had returned from exile. During the dedication ceremony for the temple of Yahuwah, 100 young bulls, 200 rams, and 400 male lambs were sacrificed, and 12 male goats were presented as a sin offering for the 12 tribes of Israel. Then the priests and Levites were divided into their various divisions to serve at the temple of Yahuwah in Jerusalem as prescribed in the book of Moses. On April 21st, the returned exiles celebrated Passover. The priests and Levites had purified themselves and were ceremonially clean, so they slaughtered the Passover lamb for all the returned exiles, for their fellow priests, and for themselves. The Passover meal was eaten by the people of Israel who had returned from exile, and by the others in the land who had turned from their corrupt practices to worship Yahuwah, the God of Israel. Then they celebrated the festival of unleavened bread for 7 days. There was great joy throughout the land because Yahuwah had caused the king of Assyria to be favorable to them, so that he helped them to rebuild the temple of Yahuwah, the God of Israel. Ezra chapter 7. Many years later, during the reign of Artaxerxes of Persia, there was a man named Ezra. He was the son of Sariah, son of Azariah, son of Hilkiah, son of Shallum, son of Zadok, son of Ahitub, son of Amariah, son of Azariah, son of Mariah, son of Zariah, son of Uzi, son of Buki, son of Abishua, son of Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the high priest. This Ezra, like, this is the Ezra we're talking about. They wanted to make sure you got the right one. Let me tell you, this is his family line. This Ezra. This Ezra was a scribe who was well versed in the law of Moses, which Yahuwah, the God of Israel, had given to the people of Israel. He came up to Jerusalem from Babylon, and the king gave him everything he asked for, because the gracious hand of Yahuwah his God was on him. Some of the people of Israel, as well as some of the priests, Levites, singers, gatekeepers, and temple servants, traveled up to Jerusalem with him in the 7th year of King Artaxerxes' reign. Ezra arrived in Jerusalem in August of that year. He had arranged to leave Babylon on April the 8th, the first day of the new year, and he arrived at Jerusalem on August the 4th, for the gracious hand of his God was on him. This was because Ezra had determined to study and obey the law of Yahuwah and teach those decrees and regulations to the people of Israel. Read that again. Y'all hear why Yahuwah's hand was on Ezra? Right here it says, Ezra arrived in Jerusalem in August of that year. He had arranged to leave Babylon on April the 8th for the first day of the new year, and he arrived at Jerusalem on August the 4th, for the gracious hand of his God was on him. This was because Ezra had determined to study and obey the law of Yahuwah and to teach those decrees and regulations to the people of Israel. And may we be as diligent and have the mindset like Ezra had, right? That Yahuwah's hand may be upon us. King Artaxerxes had given a copy of the following letter to Ezra, the priest and scribe who studied and taught the commands and decrees of Yahuwah to Israel. So also remember, I know I mentioned it yesterday or day before yesterday, that most of the times, at least from all I've seen so far, you have the Levitical priests, but it seems as if most of the priests come from the Levites. I want to say that's not 100% because I read something where it says, a place where it says Elijah the prophet was from Gad. But for most of the other priests that's coming to mind right now, they all descend from Levi somewhere from Aaron. Throughout his sons, throughout there, they descend from there, and also the scribes, right? Why? Because they study Torah. They know the law in and out, right? So they're able to give proper judgment and interpretation about what Yahuwah has said. Okay. Prophets, priests, scribes, not all the, like I said, I might have to double check that on Elijah again, but it's somewhere I read that although he was a Tishbite, but there was someplace else, and I want to say it was the Legends of the Jews, where it said that Elijah came from the tribe of Gad. I need to double check that again. So, King Artaxerxes had given a copy of the following letter to Ezra, the priest and scribe, who studied and taught the commands and decrees of Yahuwah to Israel. From Artaxerxes, the king of kings, to Ezra, the priest, the teacher of the law of the God of heaven. Greetings. I decree that any of the people of Israel in my kingdom, including the priests and Levites, may volunteer to return to Jerusalem with you. I and my council of 7 hereby instruct you to conduct an inquiry into the situation in Judah and Jerusalem based on your God's law, which is in your hand. We also commission you to take with you silver and gold, which we are freely presenting as an offering to the God of Israel, who lives in Jerusalem. Furthermore, you are to take any silver and gold that you may obtain for the province from the province of Babylon, as well as the voluntary offerings of the people and the priests that are presented for the temple of their God in Jerusalem. These donations are to be used specifically for the purpose of bulls, rams, male lambs, and the appropriate grain offerings and liquid offerings, all of which will be offered on the altar of the temple of your God in Jerusalem. Any silver and gold that is left over may be used in whatever way you and your colleagues feel is the will of your God. But as for the cups, we are entrusting to you for the service of the temple of your God. Deliver them all to the God of Jerusalem. If you need anything else for your God's temple or for any similar needs, you may take it from the royal treasury. I, Artaxerxes the king, hereby send this decree to all the treasurers in the province west of the Euphrates River. You are to give Ezra, the priest and teacher of the law of the God of heaven, whatever he requests of you. You are to give him up to 7,500 pounds of silver, 500 bushels of wheat, 550 gallons of wine, 550 gallons of olive oil, and an unlimited supply of salt. Be careful to provide whatever the God of heaven demands for his temple, for why should we risk bringing Yahuwah's anger against the realm of the king and his sons? I also decree that no priest, Levite, singer, gatekeeper, temple servant, or other worker in this temple of Yahuwah will be required to pay tribute, customs, or tolls of any kind. And you, Ezra, are to use the wisdom your God has given you to appoint magistrates and judges who know your God's laws, to govern all the people in the province west of the Euphrates River. Teach the law to anyone who does not know it. And this is a heathen king now who worships another God, but he don't want no smoke with Yah. So he said, look, everything that's in your God's law that you do and that you teach, and those of your people that don't know your God's law, teach them. Why should we bring trouble on my kingdom and my sons? So everything you need, we're going to help y'all get everything y'all need to do what your God requires of you. And you, Ezra, are to use the wisdom that your God has given you to appoint magistrates and judges who know your God's laws, to govern all the people in the province west of the Euphrates River. Teach the law to anyone who does not know it. Anyone who refuses to obey the law of your God and the law of the king will be punished immediately, either by death, banishment, confiscation of goods, or imprisonment. Praise Yahuwah, the God of our ancestors, who made the king want to beautify the temple of Yahuwah in Jerusalem, and praise him for demonstrating such unfailing love to me by honoring me before the king, his council, and all his mighty nobles. I felt encouraged because the gracious hand of Yahuwah, my God, was on me, and I gathered some of the leaders of Israel to return with me to Jerusalem. All right, y'all, last chapter for today, Ezra chapter 8. Here is a list of the family leaders and the genealogies of those who came with me from Babylon during the reign of King Artaxerxes. And forgive me ahead of time if I screw up some of these names, y'all. From the family of Phinehas, Gershom. From the family of Ithamar, Daniel. From the family of David, Hattush, a descendant of Shechaniah. From the family of Parosh, Zechariah and 150 other men were registered. From the family of Pahath Moab, Elihenoe, son of Zariah, and 200 other men. From the family of Zattu, Shechaniah, son of Jahaziel, and 300 other men. From the family of Adin, Ebed, son of Jonathan, and 50 other men. From the family of Elam, Jeshiah, son of Athaliah, and 70 other men. From the family of Shephatiah, Zebediah, son of Michael, and 80 other men. From the family of Joab, Obadiah, son of Jehiel, and 218 other men. From the family of Bani, Shilomith, son of Josephiah, and 160 other men. From the family of Bebai, Zechariah, son of Bebai, and 28 other men. From the family of Azgad, Johanan, son of Hakatan, and 110 other men. From the family of Adonikam, who came later, Eliphalet, Juiel, Shemaiah, 260 other men. From the family of Bigvi, Uthai, Zachar, and 70 other men. I assembled the exiles at the Ahava Canal, and we camped there for 3 days while I went over the list of the people and the priests who had arrived. I found that not one Levite had volunteered to come along, so I sent for Eleazar, Ariel, Shemaiah, Elnathan, Jarib, Elnathan, Nathan, Zechariah, and Meshullam, who were leaders of the people. I also sent for Joarib and Elnathan, who were men of discernment. I sent them to Edo, the leader of the Levites, at Casiphia, to ask him and his relatives and the temple servants to send us ministers for the temple of Yahuwah at Jerusalem. Since the gracious hand of our God was on us, they sent us a man named Sherebiah, along with 18 of his sons and brothers. He was a very astute man and a descendant of Mali, who was a descendant of Levi, son of Israel. They also sent Hashabiah together with Jeshaniah from the descendants of Merari, and 20 of his sons and brothers, and 220 temple servants. The temple servants were assistants to the Levites, a group of temple workers first instituted by King David and his officials. They were all listed by name. And there by the Ahava Canal, I gave orders for all of us to fast and humble ourselves before our God. We prayed that he would give us a safe journey and protect us, our children, and our goods as we traveled. For I was ashamed to ask the king for soldiers and horsemen to accompany us and protect us from the enemies along the way. After all, we had told the king, our God's hand of protection is on all who worship him, but his fierce anger rages against those who abandon him. So we fasted and earnestly prayed that our God would take care of us, and he heard our prayer. And so y'all hear me say those, Yahuwah keeps those who keeps his commands. That's exactly what Ezra is saying. He just said it in a different way, right? Let me just read it again so you can hear it again. Verse 21. And there, by the Ahava Canal, I gave orders for all of us to fast and humble ourselves before Yahuwah our God. We prayed that he would give us a safe journey and protect us, our children, and our goods as we traveled. For I was ashamed to ask the king for soldiers and horsemen to accompany us and protect us from the enemies along the way. And here it is. After all, we had told the king, our God's hand of protection is on all who worship him, but his fierce anger rages against those who abandon him, right? I keep those who keep my commands or my laws. You roll with me, I roll with you. So we fasted and earnestly prayed that our God would take care of us, and he heard our prayer. I appointed 12 leaders of the priests, Sherebiah, Hashabiah, and 10 other priests, to be in charge of transporting the silver, the gold bowls, and the other items that the king, his council, his officials, and all the people of Israel had presented for the temple of Yahuwah. I weighed the treasure as I gave it to them and found the totals to be as follows: 24 tons of silver, 7,500 pounds of silver articles, 7,500 pounds of gold, 20 gold bowls, equal in value to 1,000 gold coins, 2 fine articles of polished bronze, as precious as gold. And I said to these priests, you and these treasures have been set apart as holy to Yahuwah. This silver and gold is a voluntary offering to Yahuwah, the God of our ancestors. Guard these treasures well until you present them to the leading priests, the Levites, and the leaders of Israel, who will weigh them at the storerooms of Yahuwah's temple in Jerusalem. So the priests and the Levites accepted the task of transporting these treasures of silver and gold to the temple of our God in Jerusalem. We broke camp at the Ahava Canal on April 19th and started off to Jerusalem. And the gracious hand of our God protected us and saved us from enemies and bandits along the way. So we arrived safely in Jerusalem, where we rested for 3 days. On the 4th day after our arrival, the silver, gold, and other valuables were weighed at the temple of our God and entrusted to Meremoth, son of Uriah the priest, and to Eleazar, son of Phinehas, along with Jozabad, son of Jeshua, and Neodiah, son of Binu, both of whom were Levites. Everything was accounted for by number and weight, and the total weight was officially recorded. Then the exiles who came out of captivity sacrificed burnt offerings to the God of Israel. They presented 12 bulls for all the people of Israel, as well as 96 rams and 70 male lambs. They also offered 12 male goats as a sin offering. All this was given as a burnt offering to Yahuwah. The king's decrees were delivered to his highest officers and the governors of the province west of the Euphrates River. Oh, man. Darn it. Y'all, I'm sorry. My YouTube. I ain't have it plugged in. My screen went out, so I can't finish reading. Hold on. Ah. Pamela. Think. Jeez, y'all. I hate when I forget to plug that in. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I was literally reading the last sentence. Then I probably would have looked up and saw it, but it got me. I'm gonna have to restart the Facebook, and we'll see. I mean, not the Facebook, but the YouTube video. Yep, I know. Here come the text. You spinning on YouTube. Ah, okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Can't even read it until it come back up. It's loading. I hope it just keep recording. I think my camera gonna come back on, but I think it's still gonna be spinning. Okay. Hey, sweetie. Okay. Everything is opening back up. Let's, yes, please restore. Cut the camera back on, please. I hate when they cut it in half. I really do. Okay, yeah, I think it stopped it. Do me a favor. I'm not sure if Shayla over here, somebody over here that got access to the YouTube. It says it's still live streaming. Hold on. But we know how that goes. My time is still running.
No.
Yes, baby girl. Hold on.
Take a look.
Can you hold on in a little bit? Hold on. No, my time paused. Still saying I'm live, but my camera didn't come back on. Yeah. Okay, I think it's gonna have to. Sheesh. Yeah, my time not even running. My camera didn't come back on, so I think I'm gonna have to. Let me let them know I'm gonna start it over. Yeah, it's I gotta restart the stream, Auntie. I'm about to do it now because the camera didn't even come back on, so I have to restart it. Okay, so give me 1 second. Let me tell them. Just jump back in like 30 seconds. Hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. All right, I'm starting a new stream now. I'm sorry. All right. streaming. What to do? Go live. I'm sorry. It's not letting me. Thank you. Just. Oh, I'm about to say this thing is pissing me off. But it's, you know, it's my error. It's my error. I would, okay. I just wish I would have remembered to plug that in. Okay. We back. We live. I'll read this last sentence. Don't wait for them to come back in. Hold on. I'll pull this up anyway. Okay. I'll pull this back up. Sorry, y'all. It was operator error. I forgot to plug it in. Let me go on to this last, I was literally like on the last couple verses. I'm going to start at 35. It's like 35 and 36 and that's it. So I'll start at 35, read the last two verses, and then we'll hop over to Fossilized Customs. Okay, thank y'all for coming back. I'm sorry, y'all forgot to plug it in. Then the exiles who had come out of captivity sacrificed burnt offerings to the God of Israel. They presented 12 bulls for all the people of Israel, as well as 96 rams and 77 male lambs. They also offered 12 male goats as a sin offering. All of this was given as a burnt offering to Yahuwah. The king's decrees were delivered to his highest officers and the governors of the province west of the Euphrates River, who then cooperated by supporting the people and the temple of Yahuwah. Okay, y'all. So let's hop on over here to Fossilized Customs. And we left off on page 96. Okay, so what I do, I'll start on the last sentence on page. Hold on. No, I'm sorry. We're all the way up here. I was thinking about the wrong one. So actually, it's at the paragraph where it starts seminary, like at right under the first paragraph is where we left off at on page 96 yesterday. And the title is called Seminary, the Word and Development. Okay. Now it's time to look at the word seminary. In some of the larger communities in Europe during the 1500s, the Catholic bishops realized how uneducated their priests were. In order to educate them better and bring more uniformity and control to the organization, they called the priests to attend lessons taught by the bishops in cathedral schools. Many diverse subjects were added as time passed, and the broader selection of instructed subjects caused the term university to become applied to the schools. Another term was applied to those universities of religious learning. Seminary. Definition. a special school providing education in theology, religious history, etc., primarily to prepare students for the priesthood, ministry, or rabbinate. Now, look at the etymology of the word. Middle English, seed plot, from the Latin seminarium, from seminarius of seed, from semen, or semen and seed, right? They just have semen spelled two different ways. The good seeds and bad seeds are mixed together in these seed plots and allowed to grow, but the bad seeds quickly choke out the good seeds, as we see the teachings of these seminaries teach their replacement theology and scream legalism and Judaizer when anyone wishes to live according to the good seed, the Torah of Yahuwah, knowing that the bad seeds are sown by the devil, who has been behind the seminaries and their teachings, or seeds in parentheses. Bad seeds are lies, omissions, and alterations. My original motivation to investigate customs. When I was 34 in 1984 CE, my son Michael was about 3. One night I had a chance to tuck him into bed and read to him. On the far side of the darkened room was a small glowing tree which had been decorated and placed there by a friend of my wife. He asked, "Dad, what is that?" Puzzled for a few moments, I told him, "I don't really know, son, but I'll find out, and I'll tell you one day." I told him I didn't think it would be good, whatever it was. This was the beginning of what became 30 years of personal research, eventually to become this book you're now reading. I promised my son that I would never lie to him, but tell him the straight truth always. That same night, I told him that people would try to teach him about Santa Claus, but they were all lies. I wanted him to believe me when I told him the truth. As of 2014, FC is still being, which is, FC is shortened for Fossilized Customs. As of 2014, Fossilized Customs is still being published around the world, and he has 3 children of his own. The next section is called Judging Others. Please let me remind you that as I am writing this heart-wrenching information, I am not condemning or criticizing people, but rather exposing the facts about why we see them performing the pagan format. This is not about people, but rather teachings. People are born into these customs, and they have no idea where they originated or why. It is like everyone is upside down. When they learn the truth, they are turned right side up. Those who manage to wake up have to be very gentle, because everyone around them remains in a daydream world they awakened from. We have to be understanding and loving, and we talk about that all the time, right? No. You know what? Maybe he did. I don't see his truck. I don't know. Call him. We have to be understanding and loving. The Torah provides us the light to enable us to see what we're doing, right or wrong. We must not look down on others, call them fools, or feel superior because we have the eyesight to see. They may be blind at the moment, but now you have the responsibility to tell them the truth. It must be done in a gentle, loving way, otherwise they will be repelled. And those of us who have awakened, yes. And he's upstairs. You can go ask him those questions. No, he's not. Okay. But we talk about this all the time, right? So those of us, you see those of us waking up, some of us, they get that attitude like, oh, you're the pagan, we're not, right? But we were once doing those same things, right? And it's incumbent upon us, if we want our brothers and sisters to wake up, that we be gentle with them, right? And we kind of drop that truth on them so that they can begin to see, right? It's just like we talked about yesterday, about baby, my grandbaby crying in the background. You have to feed them with milk, right, until they're able to digest the meat. And you know what? In yesterday's video, my mom made a really good comment. You know, if you get a chance, go back and read her comment in relation to what we were talking about, milk and meat. It's really good, and I think she made it so clear. And she explained how that when we wake up, and even sometimes there are those of us who wake up and we're extremely zealous and we want all the information right now, but sometimes all the information is a little bit too much, right? Just like a baby, we have to grow. We have to grow in stages and phases until our system becomes developed enough to be able to digest the harder substance meat type foods, right? Or the harder substance type truths, right? Truth is meant and is designed to give life. But when you've been in darkness, you can't take it all in at one time because it will literally kill you. Just think about, if you, like, we use it all the time, think about if you try to give a baby some meat. You know, although the meat will nourish its body, or not just meat but other nourishing foods, but are a little more solid, they don't have the teeth to chew it up, disintegrate it in their mouth the proper way, in order, first of all, to be able to get it down their throat so they can swallow it. And even if they do just swallow it, it could get stuck in here and it could choke them, right? Then, in order to stop them choking, we have to perform life-saving measures, which could literally bruise or break their lungs, or their not their lungs, but their ribs. We could break their ribs, and they could pierce their lungs, right? And they could die anyway. Something that was meant to give them life, it ended up killing them because they got it before the time and they were not able to digest it. So you have to grow in phases. You got to get the milk first. Take in the milk. Enjoy the milk. Grow from the milk. Begin to develop the teeth, right? And then you'll begin to move in phases, and you can, all the foolishness will begin to wash away, and you become stronger and stronger, right? So when you do that to people that are, when you wake up and people who are not quite woke yet, that's like you trying to give them something that, first of all, they don't even recognize yet as food. They think is, get away from me, you heretic, you've joined a cult, right? They can't, they're blind, they can't even see, right? So even the ones that just wake up, they get stuck. And those are like our brethren that we see standing on the corners. Remember, you hear me refer to them as hate bulls, right? But those, you can liken them to the ones who have gotten meat and stuff stuck in their throats, or they're trying to digest too much truth at the beginning before they were able to assimilate the milk, right? Because if you can't assimilate the milk, the smaller truths that build on and lead you up to the bigger ones, you're going to be lost again, right? And you ain't going to be able to tell if you're coming or if you're going, right? It's everything Yahuwah does. It's like, and you can see it happening all around us in nature if you would just look and pay attention and allow it to teach you, right? Okay. Hold on. The Torah provides us the light to enable us to see what we're doing, right or wrong. We must not look down on others, call them fools, or feel superior because we have the eyes to see. They may be blind at the moment, but you now have the responsibility to tell them the truth. It must be done in a gentle, loving way, otherwise they will be repelled. We must help them to see. We must help them to see. We do not judge them, but rather the customs they have embraced since childhood. Hold on, let me read that again. We must help them to see. We must help them to see we do not judge them, but rather the customs they have embraced since childhood. We're not judging you, but the customs that you're doing, we're judging them as not sufficient to do for a holy, set-apart people, right? It's not you, it's what you're doing, right? Sometimes people internalize that wrong, like you're telling them they're a bad person, right? It's not you, it's the actions that you're acting out. The Torah does the judging, for the word or Torah of Yahuwah is living and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates even to dividing soul and spirit, joints and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. Nothing in all creation is hidden from Yahuwah's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of him to whom we must give account. Hebrews 4:12 and 13. And I'm sure some of you have read that, yet the meaning was beyond you. It sounded profound, but now you can read any of the writings and comprehend because his name has unlocked the secret. Yahuwah's name, his Torah, has unlocked the secret for you, right? He who scorns instruction will pay for it, but he who respects a command is rewarded. The teaching of the wise is a foundation of life, turning a man from the snares of death. This Proverbs chapter 13, verses 13 and 14. The Torah is wisdom. Note the feminine ending as in Sarah. If we rank ourselves above others because of their impairments, lack of knowledge, education, race, or poverty, we show contempt for their maker. That's found in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 31. Yahuwah says he hates certain things: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a man who stirs up dissension among brothers. That's Proverbs 6:16 through 19. He also says at Malachi chapter 2, verse 16, I hate divorce. Live for the other person. Your enemy isn't your spouse whom you love. We have a spiritual enemy, and we must not surrender. The adversary divides and conquers. A kingdom or marriage divided against itself cannot stand. Now you know a little more about potatoes than you have before, and how relatively quickly Santa Claus rose up and launched into everyone's lives because of the lack of those potatoes. Okay, so y'all might be thinking, potatoes? We started this section yesterday. Remember we went over the parables, right? So we went over the parable of the sower, the parable of the weeds, the parable of the mustard seed, the parable of the net, right? But all of this was a part of the bigger teaching where he was talking about, like, those potatoes, right? Hold on. And I know you probably forgot that part. But yeah, if you go back in your book, it'll bring you back into when he started talking about potatoes, right? Okay. Now you know a little more about potatoes than you may have before, and how relatively quickly Santa Claus rose up and launched into everyone's lives because of the lack of those potatoes. In the Germanic term, Kris Kringle means Christ child. You can see the word Chris, in parentheses it has shining, is right there in the forefront. Kringle is a mangling of the word kindle and is the root for kindergarten. The vagueness of who this shining child really is should cause you to be suspicious. No doubt it is Nimrod reborn. Remember, everything leads all the way back to Nimrod, right? No matter which religion, who you worship, if it's not Yahuwah alone, it's always this Trinity type thing going on, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or they give different names depending on whatever religion you're in. It all goes back to that. But if you go back a little bit further from where that originate, you will see it originated all the way back with Nimrod. It's that same story being regurgitated in different nations all across the world. So everyone has been deceived into worshiping Nimrod, but under the guise of what they love. Okay, you love that? Let's put what you love over this. And now you worship what you love, right? But indirectly, they have been deceived into worshiping the enemy. It's Nimrod and penis worship all over again. The phallus, the crosses, the cubes, all of those things. Because remember what happened to Nimrod. Nimrod, first of all, married his mama. Then his mama became his wife. So when you hear me say Nimrod's mama wife, that's that. That's gross. Blech. It's disgusting. You gonna eat it just like that? Because I made it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're crazy. You're crazy.
I put it in my smoothies. Then he'll take it my sea moss. Okay. So when you hear me say Nimrod's mama wife, that's how that happened. But remember what happened. Remember, because they always have this like resurrection type thing going on wherever they're at, right? And they call the resurrected one the son, which is actually, okay, it's a play on words, like son, S-O-N, and he rose. And now, because when Nimrod died, they say, the story goes that he died and he went into heaven and he became the son, S-U-N. But when he died, remember, his body was chopped up into pieces. His mama wife found all the pieces of his body except for his penis, right? She told everybody that she was pregnant by her son husband. Disgusting. Blood. It's disgusting. She was pregnant by her son husband. Her son husband, she gave birth to him, her son, but now he's the son, S-U-N. So her son, we'll call him her son husband. Found all the pieces except for his penis, right? She said she was pregnant by him, had a baby. It was him reincarnated as the son. You see how the disgusting play on words? You got the son, being died, being risen, then born again. Like father becomes son. The son is the father in the flesh, reincarnated. You see how all this disgusting stuff? Good morning, Kathy. Shalom. So this even permeates Christianity, right? And people don't get it when they're still sleeping, especially if they don't know. If they learned a little bit about Nimrod, and then they go looking at all the other religions and seeing that Christianity is not special. Everybody doing the same thing that the Christians are doing. They just give different names to it. But none of the religions recognize any of the other religions because they all think that their religion is it, right? And they think everybody else is wrong. But all of them are wrong if you're not worshiping Yahuwah alone, right? So we see the missing part of Nimrod's body being worshipped everywhere, and it's being stuck on church buildings. When you see that cross, all this, that's the missing body part that his mama wife could not find. You're going into houses worshiping penises like y'all get it, right? I try to explain it a little bit more every time we come across it so you can like really get it. So that's why you really should get sick to your stomach if you even think about walking into one of these penis worshiping places of worship. Don't do it. Back out of there, right? Don't ignorantly do it. Come out of her, my people. Listen, the vagueness of who this shining child really is should cause you to be suspicious. No doubt it is Nimrod reborn, right? And now they're calling him the son, right? But you can't be Loretta and Loretta's daughter too. Paganism's shining child was the reborn sun at the winter solstice. Did you know that Saint Nick is a popular euphemism for Satan? One preacher on a radio program once commented that if you remove all the paganism from Christianity, there would be absolutely nothing left to do. It would utterly vaporize. Okay, we're gonna read this next section, the Druids, right? And they show a picture of this Colosseum type thing right here. It almost, I ain't gonna say it looks like the hinge stone, but kind of put you in the mind of that, but not so much. It's more like a Colosseum. Okay. The Druids. The terror continues. The word Germani originally was the name for a Celtic tribe of Druids, and now is the name of a country, Germany. The Norsemen, such as Vikings, Picts, and even King Arthur, were pagans. The wizard, sorcerer, druid dude, Merlin, certainly wasn't trying to convert Camelot to Christianity. The Hollywood versions of history are often anachronistic, going against the time frame. Life for a pagan under the Druids was a nightmare. Parents had to endure risking their children's lives because the Druids demanded sacrifices. Children were made to stand in a large circle with marker stones with a tall oak pole at the center. At sunrise, the shadow of the pole would fall upon a single child. This child was tied up and burned alive on a bonfire. On a bonfire. Now it's called a bonfire. Yes, Dana, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's a representation
Jackson,
of
come
that.
here.
She said, wait, what? Are you saying the cross is a penis? That's exactly what I'm saying. Because if you have to realize what they're doing. Just think about it. Just think about it. It is a representation. People got these chains around their neck, floss, and I used to do it too, till I found out what it was and snatched it off my neck with the quickness. Like I said, when I say y'all, I was sick. I ain't gonna say I was burning crosses, but I wanted to burn them. I'm snatching stuff off my neck. I wanted to throw up, and I was a little overly dramatic too. And I'm like, Father, forgive me. I thought I was doing what was right. Oh, this is so disgusting. Like, seriously, right? Remember, Semiramis, or his mama wife, found everything but his penis, right? And so that's what they put up. And they use that as a statue representation of Nimrod, y'all. It's disgusting. It's so disgusting. At sunrise, the shadow child of the pole would fall upon a single child. This child was tied up and burned alive on a bonfire, like bones in your body, a bonfire. Now it's called bonfire. Anybody ever attended bonfires? Yeah, that's where it originated from. And the charred bones were buried under the stone marker. Given the 2 solstices and 2 equinoxes, this stone circle with the oak pole shadows produce a familiar symbol, the peace sign. This is one of the religious symbols of the Druids, dating back at least 2,200 years. The term Yule log, Y-U-L-E, log, L-O-G, Yule log, means child log. Think about Yuletide during Christmas time, like all this stuff people is ignorant doing, right? You're reenacting child sacrifices. And the song, oh my gosh. Yes.
Singing some larger drink.
Okay.
Jackson.
Okay. He can give some to Jackson. The term Yule log means child log. The Celts have named prefixes like MC and Mac, which both mean son of, which indicated a person was the son of Donald. Hey, chill. The son of Donald or son of Kinsey, like McDonald or Mackenzie. That means you're Mac MC or MAC, McDonald. Oh, you're the son of Donald. Mac means son, and it's MC or MAC, right? The Celts have name prefixes like MC and MAC, which both mean son of, which indicated a person was the son of Donald or the son of Kinsey, like McDonald or Mackenzie, son of Donald, son of Kinsey. An O prefix meant grandson of, or old Donald or old Kinsey. Oh, you're the grandson of Donald. You're the grandson of Kinsey. Y'all get it? Another Celtic Aryan prefix that indicated a person was an illegitimate child was Fitz, F-I-T-Z. It was common, and when they called someone Fitz, they were calling them bastard. The prefix von, V-O-N, or van, as in Von Meter or Van Halen, also means son of. So the son of Meter or the son of Halen, Von Meter, Van Halen, right? Okay. Halloween. The 2 Celtic words hallowed evening came from All Hallows Even, and now we call it Halloween. This is now even more popular than Easter and rivals Christmas. The roots of this festival come to us from Druid demon worship. Witches were said to fly brooms over the crops and teach them how to grow. It was a fertility myth. When the first Roman Catholic missionaries encountered these Druids, they met stubborn resistance because the inhabitants of England, Sweden, Netherlands, and northern Germany, Finland, and Ireland were very nationalistic. The ritual we embrace as Halloween was originally called the Feast of the Dead, Samhain, pronounced Samhain, and was on November the 1st. These pre-Christian Druids had the barbarians doing ghastly things. It was a dreaded occasion since it was thought that time stood still and the souls of the dead walked in the land. Gifts, especially food, were left outside for these roaming ghosts with the hope that no harm would come to the household. Look. You got 2 cross tattoos? Trina said, I got 2 tattoos. I'm saving to get them covered. What was I thinking? Girl, none of us was thinking, right? It's like, oh my gosh. Father, help us to fix all this wrong that we have ignorantly done. Father, forgive us, for we know not what we did. Like, seriously. Those words have never been truer, right? Gifts, especially food. Think about trick-or-treating when you got candy and stuff. Some people got apples and stuff out there. Some people, they hold the door open and give it to you. Some people just put it out there. Just grab it from the end and keep on going, right? This is a ritual in hopes that their family wouldn't be slaughtered to death that night. Listen. These pre-Christian Druids had the barbarians doing ghastly things. It was a dreaded occasion since it was thought that time stood still and the souls of the dead walked the land. So when you see them in costumes walking, that's what that's representing, that dead souls has risen from their graves and they are walking the land. Gifts, especially food, were left outside for these roaming ghosts with the hope that no harm would come to the households. The Druids chose certain children to be burned alive on bonfires as offerings to the sun, or as offerings to Nimrod, right? Parents tied yellow ribbons around oak trees as prayers to the sun to have their children spared. The fat left over from the child was fashioned into a candle and placed into a carved out pumpkin. Get out of here. How many of y'all carved pumpkins and put candles in them? Jack-o'-lanterns. Look.
I carved a pumpkin before.
The fat left over from the child was fashioned into a candle and placed into a carved out pumpkin or a hollowed out vegetable with a round sun-shaped design.
Look, guys.
Chill, y'all. The victim was called Jack of the Lantern. We call it Jack-o'-lantern today, but the proper term for it is Jack of the Lantern. Yo, Jack, your turn has come, and we're going to see your candle burning inside this pumpkin. Look, the victim was called Jack of the Lantern. Prisoners and unlike people were burned alive in wicker cages shaped in the form of animals hung from trees. All of this was ultimately to pay homage to the sun, Woden or Odin. As you now know, this Druid deity gives us our name for the fourth day of the week, Woden's Day. All right, I'm gonna read this last little paragraph on this page, and we're gonna pause right here today, y'all. Okay, from Samhain to All Saints. Samhain, Samhain. From Samhain to now we're calling it All Saints. Okay. Without forcing the pagans to drop their practices but accept Christianity, the RCC, or the Roman Catholic Church, merely made allowances to accommodate the barbarians and called it acculturation. They sanctified the pagan rituals by absorbing and camouflaging them. In the 7th century, the pantheon at Rome was extracted from the barbarians and made into a cathedral, Greek cathedra meaning seat or throne. Pantheon means all gods. They renamed it Church of the Blessed Virgin of All Martyrs. Thus, it changed from the worship of all gods, which is Pantheon, to the Center for Honoring All Saints. The day chosen to honor all the hallowed saints was first observed on the evening of May 13th and was known as All Hallows Festival. This festival was officially authorized in 835 CE by Pope Gregory. Here we go with the Roman numerals, y'all. What is this? IV 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think this Pope Gregory the 6th. I think. It's IV. Somebody correct me. What's IV? Is IV 6? Y'all know I got this thing about not knowing Roman numerals, so. Pope Gregory, IV, I think that's the 6th, after it was moved to November the 1st to coincide with the festival of Samhain. It began on the evening of October 31st, which was called All Hallows Eve. Saints in Hebrew is the word Kodeshim, based on the word Kodesh, meaning set apart. I'm sorry, y'all. We got like 3 more sentences and we done. A Kodeshi is a living person, and they don't need the RCC or the Roman Catholic Church to canonize them after they die to be a saint. The word Kodesh has been translated to the word holy and hallowed, which really means hallowed. A great amount of behavior from ancient solar worship came from the Far East, as the ascended deities worshipped in the East were depicted with sky blue skin and a glowing nimbus encircling their heads. All right, beautiful people, so that's our reading for today. Trina said, wow, we was just out thinking we were getting free candy. Yeah, and giving praise and honor to their deities at the same time, ignorantly, right? And that's what all the religions do, especially the church, right? I know people want to crucify me every time they hear me now say the word church. Every time I say the word church out my mouth. Like, you are banished from ever speaking the word church again. Oh, speaking of banishing me, look, IV is 4. Hold on. VI. Oh, okay. 4. Pope Gregory. Okay. Belay my last. Thank you, Auntie. Hold on. Pope Gregory the 4th. Okay, the 4th. IV is 4, VI is 6. Okay, y'all. So when I said Pope Gregory, it wasn't the 6th, it was the 4th. Thank you for that correction. Okay. I really should have like a cheat sheet with Roman numerals so I can glance every time it comes up. Because they're gonna be coming up again. So that's what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get a chart of Roman numerals, y'all. I promise y'all I will. But anyway, speaking about banishing me, let me tell you. Yesterday I found out when I uploaded, when we finished with the video, you'll notice if you go watch my video, you can put hashtags in your description box on YouTube, and under your video, you can, the first 3 hashtags that you use in your description box, they'll show it under your video. So if anybody goes to YouTube, or you can do it on Facebook too, but specifically on YouTube I saw it because they're censoring me. And let me tell you what they're censoring about me. I told you they like, girl, we got our eyes on you, right? Little old me, look, you would think my channel is blasphemy based on what the church is putting out. They let you put all kind of church videos out like Jesus is real and baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and Jesus is this and Jesus is that, right? They let you put all that up there. Yesterday, I used the hashtag. It was my first hashtag. I put hashtag Jesus is, and in all capital letters, not real. And I had 2 other hashtags like come out of her, my people, and fossilized custom, something like that, right? How about they remove my hashtag? I was like, hold on, maybe I made a mistake. So I went in, I was like, wait, no, the hashtag is still there. Why it's not showing up? I'm like, okay, maybe it's too long, right? Maybe it's too long with the 3, because if you have an extremely long, y'all, Stanley Steamer's coming this morning. The hash, if you have an extremely long hashtag, it may cut off the third one because one of your first two is extremely long. So I was like, well, okay, well, let me test this. So I replaced it. I put another hashtag there just as long that said just as long as the letter number count in Jesus is not real. But what I did, I took out the not and I did the hashtag Jesus is real, saved it, refreshed it. It shows up. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's 3 letters too long. I was like, but if it was 3 letters too long, it would never cut off the first hashtag. It would cut off the third hashtag and you would see the first 2, but the third one would be going. So I'm like, so I did it again. I was like, well, maybe it's my system. Let me try it from my phone. So I went back in there and I changed it. And I put Jesus is not real with the other 2 hashtags, refreshed it, looked at it. It completely removed the whole hashtag Jesus is not real, but left the other 2 up there. I'm like, went back again. I took the not out. And Jesus is real. Boom. All 3 hashtags shows up. Okay. Well, let me just try something else with just completely different, right? So I put in there another hashtag that had nothing to do with Jesus. I just put it in there. And it was longer than Jesus is real and longer than Jesus is not real, right? You know what happens? This new hashtag that I put up that had nothing to do with JC at all shows up with the other 2 hashtags. I'm like, and that was longer than Jesus is real and Jesus is not real. Yeah, all 3 are showing up. I even called my mama. I'm like, oh, look at this. I'm like, so they're letting the foolery continue, perpetrating a lie about a JC character that didn't even exist, right? Because what you read in the Gospels is a compilation of different things that happened throughout time that's referring to Titus when he ruled, right? If you understand, if you watched a couple of videos that I gave you, you can see the perfect parallels. But you don't even have to watch that. If you read the Old Testament enough, then you go into the New Testament, you'll see, oh, wait a minute. What are they doing? This comes right from here. He didn't. No, that's not. You can see what I'm saying? So I'm like, look at this foolery here. I was like, I better not press my luck because they already watching me. We're watching you, girl. You better stop it. Look, here's what happens. When you begin to speak the truth, now I know they're censoring people for saying stuff about the Pandorama. Y'all get it. What's been in the news and they got the jabs for it. I got to be careful with the words because they gave me a strike already, right? So they give you strikes for talking against the Pandorama. Get what I'm saying? They give you strikes for talking against the Pandorama, but they also give you strikes for actually speaking the truth, letting people know that this is a farce. Why? Because think about how much money YouTube and all social media makes off of the church. If all of the church stuff is taken away, they lose the majority of their income, and people that's throwing in money over this lie, right? So they had to remove that. They would not let me use that hashtag Jesus is not real. I was like, let me not press my luck, but I still pressed it a little bit. I decided to remove my S's and change them out with Z's, right? So I got to keep checking it. They might put that in there, but they let me get away with Jesus is not real by removing the S's and using Z's. So I still got my message across. Jesus is not real by removing the S's and putting Z's there. But I want y'all to go test that. Anybody that plays around with the algorithms and stuff and can track that, go see that, right? So I just wanted to let y'all know that just in case they come back at you thought you were slick, another strike, you out for a week, because they told me next time they're going to take me down for a week. So I just had to let y'all know that because I'm pressing it just a little bit. I wanted to let y'all know that because revealing that Jesus is not real will cause them to lose a lot of revenue, y'all. And I'm like, oh. So I was like, well, wait a minute. They people hollering about they Jesus videos and stuff, and they getting strikes. Y'all, listen, y'all getting strikes against y'all, because I go back and look at some of these. Y'all not necessarily getting strikes because of the cause of Christ. You're getting strikes because you're going against the community rules, speaking about the Pandorama, right? Speaking about the Pandorama, blaming it the cause of Christ. No, you're violating this right here. Figure out a way to talk about this, to get truth and about this without violating that rule. And don't try and lump that together like they're persecuting you for the cause of Christ, because they not. Don't do that, people. Don't do that. Speak the truth, but they ain't persecuting you for the cause of Christ. They're about to kill your channel because you're violating the rule, right? And even though I just tried to get over on the algorithm so I can get the truth across, but we know what truth they really don't want to get out to people. So yeah, so I just wanted to share that with y'all just in case they come back and get me. So make sure y'all find me, subscribe to the backup channel just in case they get me over here and take this down for a week, because if they do, I'm gonna be gone from YouTube for a week. So go subscribe to the backup channel. If they get me on the backup channel too, I'll only be left over here on Facebook. So you gotta watch it on Facebook. You got a little bit more leisure on Facebook right now, but I'm still working on getting my own video hosting where can't nobody take my video down. So with that being said, y'all, I just wanted to share that with y'all, so y'all know. Let's go ahead and do the blessing, and we got to get out of here. All right, so the blessing is found, y'all, in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, that's it. We out of here. I see y'all. Here's my book, y'all. Where's my book? Yeah. I won't see y'all again until Thursday, because tomorrow is the Sabbath for this moon cycle. Remember, this moon cycle, the Sabbaths fall on Wednesday, so I won't see y'all tomorrow. I see everybody back here Thursday morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.